Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of RE Radar. Once again, I am your host and realtor, Nathan Matheson. And today, this is a bit different as this is an intro I've filmed, as the episode and the content you're about to see is from my interview I did with Hannah Fisher. We had some extra stuff we talked about at the end that I felt deserved its own episode. So that's what this is going to be. And the focus of this is going to be on the sustainability aspect of real estate and how you can be a sustainable real estate professional. So I hope you all enjoy it. And without further ado, let's just hop right in. Wrapping up here, I've got one final question for you. And I know that you're really passionate about sustainability.
Yeah.
What are kind of different ways you try to implement that sustainability practice into your business as a realtor? People at first glance might, how can real estate be sustainable? It's all about building all these homes and all this. So how do you
Yeah.
kind of counter that?
Yeah. I'm so happy you asked. Um, if we have the time, I want to give a little bit of background
Yeah,
and talk
go
about hard
ahead.
refresh for a second. So I'm born and raised here in the Pacific Northwest. I have actually seen my climate change around me in my lifetime, and I watch it every year, and it kind of stresses me out a little bit. And every single job I've had post college, I have attempted to turn into a sustainability job or something that is for the environment, not against it. And I firmly believe that there is a solution to our climate crisis, and it's going to take everybody doing what they can. And I want to caveat all of this with you can't talk about climate without talking about privilege or climate action without talking about privilege. I'm super lucky to be able to, contribute in meaningful ways. Not everybody has that option. So that's just really important to call out. So when I founded Hard Refresh, I wanted to make websites. I love marketing. I love building digital experiences. I have since turned Hard Refresh into a sustainable web building company, and we work with really large brands like the Non-GMO Project and with John L. Scott. And when I practice real estate, I bring an unusual obsession with the climate to everything I do, but also to real estate. So you can find me on a Friday night reading like science journal data stuff about climate temperatures and things like that. So I also want to caveat with like I'm a little bit of a weirdo. Not everybody thinks like this. And I think if I could get your audience to take away one thing, our consumption is the problem, in my opinion. We're constantly buying stuff, and there's some things we need, like food, right? Housing is another big one. So when you're thinking about, leaving the culture of buying stuff and entering into a culture of investing in quality of things and looking at the overall life cycle of things, that shift in mindset can really guide your decisions as a realtor, as a homeowner, and just as like a citizen of the planet. And if anybody listening wants a resource on anything, call me. I've got millions. So, talking about sustainability in real estate, Project Drawdown has an incredible gal working for them. Her name's Amanda Smith. She's put out some really great literature and done talks on the footprint of buildings. It's one of the largest contributors to CO2 emissions. And it's not just the building of the buildings, it's the living in the buildings too. So I start with coaching all of my clients. We are moving towards a less stable climate in the future. So we're not just going to have warmer days, we're going to have less predictable weather, we're going to have more extreme weather. So having a home that is a bunker, probably not realistic, but what can you do with your home to try to be very self-sufficient? We're looking at, I'll just use myself as an example. I just bought a vacation house a couple years ago, and it's fully sun exposed all day, every day. We're planting trees for shade, right? If the electricity goes out and your AC doesn't work, can you survive a heat wave? If there's, record breaking rain, is the grade around your home sloped so that your basement doesn't collect water? If there's an extreme cold event, do you have a heat source that has a low risk of carbon monoxide poisoning and insulation to try to keep your little space as hot as you can. We had a really awful heat wave in June of 2021 or 2020. It was so bad that it broke. I've never seen or heard of temperatures like this in the Pacific Northwest. It was 110 degrees. The tide went out and the clams and the oysters cooked on the beach. It was really severe. And I was here in my tiny little house with two AC units running, and I hung sheets up and kept the dog and the cat and I, in just our living room. So it starts with acknowledging that this is our future and these are things to plan for. And there's a really incredible resource called riskfactor.com. Everybody on the planet should be looking at this. They've got impeccable data, they've got impeccable forecasting. So you tapped into something I could rant on even longer than photos, but doing some research and understanding what our future looks like and how as humans we're going to need to cope with an extreme environment is step one. In terms of practicing real estate, it's a little bit more simple. For me, it just comes down to reducing my waste. I could go on and on about the recycling industry and post consumer products, and real estate is sort of rampant with what I would classify as like really unnecessary waste. I think flyers are stupid. I'm just going to say it. Controversy coming at you. I hate flyers.
From a
Um,
marketing person too, that's extra
from a marketing
controversy.
person. Yeah, so what can we do to be creative that solves the same the purpose of a flyer is to have somebody come by and be like, huh, I'm walking by this house or I'm driving by. I was raised by two people who for fun would drive around on Saturdays and we just go grab flyers and dream about what houses. I love my parents for that. A QR code works just fine. It can be one QR code that you use for every single one of your listings, and it takes everybody to a landing page, like a link tree. There's so many different digital solutions. It can be, cleaning the home and prepping it for showing using, low tox materials, or choosing a staging company that, is using reclaimed furniture or something like that. You want to, of course, be careful of greenwashing, but advocating for taking care of the home instead of leaning into the fast fashion of trends is also a big thing. So I predict that, in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to see a shift away from, at least I think Gen Z, as they come up, especially, I think will be, you know, more interested in preserving the doorknobs they have,
Mhm.
right? Right. If you go to Home Depot and you're like, man, these doorknobs are super ugly, I'm going to go buy new ones. Oftentimes they come packaged in plastic and cardboard, and that's not recyclable materials. So, instead I'm sitting here looking at a doorknob. I'm like, what could I do to make that more interesting? I could spray paint it black, but then you got to think about the spray paint. I don't know. So just thinking about it from
Mhm.
when you're fixing up a house or prepping it, thinking about the materials you're bringing into that process and the entire life cycle of that. So, how is it created? How is it packaged? How do I use it? And then where does it go when I'm done with that? That's another big one. And then the other thing you can do as a realtor is be a resource. So if you're familiar with government, state, city programs, Seattle, we have a really fabulous program called the Rainwise program. If you're familiar with rebates for solar panels and energy efficient appliances, if you know where to recommend that your client takes an old appliance so that it's recycled appropriately, if you can be that resource, you are amplifying your clients' efforts to be more sustainable. And I think as realtors, we have a responsibility as stewards of, you know, the homes available to kind of shift the narrative and say, hey, I'm showing you this house, you don't like the countertop. Did you know you can carefully pop that countertop off and take it to Earthwise or reuse? Or there's an incredible new website coming out. My friend Larry Lamont is starting a startup called Recapture It that captures like reclaimed building materials. It's really, really cool. I think his website is almost done or something like that. I'd check in with him on that. But you can donate materials that you don't find to match your style that somebody else will. And you can learn how to shop for that. So I also want to advocate for like delayed gratification a little bit. You know, there's times when it's like, my toilet's leaking, I need to fix it. Go buy whatever you need. Don't let your toilet leak and like wreck your house.
Mhm.
But if it's an aesthetic thing, take your time, enjoy the journey, right? Like go find something where you're like, whoa, I found this crazy cool thing at a antique mall in West Seattle on the most perfect Saturday. It's right across from the West Seattle John L. Scott, my favorite real estate office ever. Did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
And have a story behind how you decorate your home, and as realtors, advocate for that type of lifestyle where you can.
Mhm. Yeah, I
I'll
think it's
stop.
just really
I'll stop.
big to it's just really big to kind of understand that it's something taking place and have the idea about sustainable practices in
Hmm.
your mind and have that thought to then where you see
Hmm.
something that, wait, we could do this and it'd be much more sustainable would
Yes. Yeah.
be what you need to be
Just.
doing instead of just some massive, there's not one massive thing. It's just the little things
Hmm.
building upon each
Hmm.
other and
Yeah.
doing more sustainable practices through that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I would love to see more real estate agents talking about this and sharing resources and, just helping oftentimes when young people are buying homes, they're so excited. I call it the new homeowner energy, right? Like when I bought my first house, I ripped out 4 rhododendrons in 2 weeks. I was pumped up. If we could channel that into planting trees, reclaiming and reusing materials, using like low tox paint, the things that are really going to make our planet more sustainable. And I really have this dream of like realtors everywhere sort of, not pushing a narrative, but encouraging a transformation of how we look at the places that we live. So I'll shut up about it now.
well, thank you so much for joining me today, Hannah. I think this has
Yeah,
been a really informative and some great information for the listeners. So thank you,
you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
of course. And thank you to the listeners for watching. Thank you for listening and have a great rest of your day and see you next time.